On Christmas Eve 2002, the quiet city of Modesto, California, was full of holiday cheer. Families were gathering, gifts were wrapped, and a sense of joy filled the air. But for the Peterson family, that joy would soon turn to horror. That was the day Laci Peterson, 27 years old, went missing along with her unborn son, Connor. Laci Peterson was a woman loved by many. She was 8 months pregnant and looking forward to the birth of her first child. Her friends and family described her as full of life, a warm and caring person. Her husband, Scott Peterson, appeared to be a loving partner. The couple seemed to have it all: a nice home, good jobs, and a baby on the way. Show a montage of photos of Laci smiling, walking with Scott, and pictures of the couple's house. But on the morning of December 24th, Scott told the police that Laci had vanished without a trace. She was last seen walking their dog in the neighborhood. Scott claimed that when he returned from a solo fishing trip, Laci was gone. The only clue left behind was the family dog, wandering the streets with its leash still on. Cut to footage of police interviews, showing Laci's family in distress. As soon as the news broke, a search for Laci began. Hundreds of people joined the effort, searching parks, rivers, and streets, hoping to find her safe and sound. But as the days passed, no one could find any trace of her. People wondered, how could a pregnant woman just disappear? Footage of volunteers combing through fields and searching the streets. Scott appeared on television, pleading for his wife's safe return. His voice was calm, almost too calm. This would be the first sign that something wasn't right. While the public rallied around the Peterson family, authorities began to ask tougher questions. Cut to Scott's TV interview where he appears detached. As investigators dug deeper into Scott's life, they discovered something shocking. Scott was having an affair. He had been seeing a woman named Amber Frey, who had no idea he was married, let alone that his wife was missing. Amber would later come forward, telling the police that Scott had lied to her, saying he was a widower. Show images of Amber Frey and quotes from her public statements. This was the turning point in the investigation. While the public had sympathy for Scott, the affair raised new questions. Why would a man expecting a child be cheating on his wife? Did Scott know more about Laci's disappearance than he was letting on? Cut to detective interviews, hinting at their growing suspicions. Months passed without any solid leads. The search for Laci was becoming more desperate by the day. But then, in April 2003, the mystery took a grim turn. A body was discovered washed up on the shore of the San Francisco Bay, and it wasn't just one body, but two. One of them was a tiny baby boy. Slow footage of the San Francisco Bay, waves crashing on the shore. DNA tests confirmed that the bodies were Laci and her unborn son, Connor. They had been dumped into the water, left to the mercy of the currents. The beautiful, vibrant woman who had everything to look forward to had been brutally taken from the world, and now the spotlight was on Scott. Footage of police at the crime scene. Scott was arrested and charged with the murders of his wife and son. Prosecutors argued that Scott wanted a new life, free of responsibility, and that's why he killed Laci. The evidence seemed to stack up against him. The affair, the lies, and Scott's unusual behavior during the search. But Scott maintained his innocence. Show courtroom footage and snippets of the trial. In 2004, after a long and emotional trial, Scott Peterson was found guilty of first-degree murder for Laci's death and second-degree murder for Connor's. He was sentenced to death. But even with the conviction, many questions remain. Was Scott truly guilty, or was he simply a man trapped in unfortunate circumstances? Show a split screen of Scott in court and Laci's family reacting to the verdict. The case of Laci Peterson continues to haunt people to this day. It's a story of love, betrayal, and tragedy. A story that reminds us how fragile life can be, and how the people we trust most can sometimes become our worst nightmare. As we look back on Laci's life, we remember her not for the way it ended, but for the joy she brought to those who knew her. She was a wife, a mother-to-be, and a friend. Her story will never be forgotten.